Yo, what's good, people? Like, subscribe, hit that notification bell for me. Man, I'm getting to you guys late. I know, my bad. Your boy's been busy, man. Rent is high, man. Rent is high. Gas is $5 a gallon. We got this idiot in the White House, man. So I gotta hustle and get the money. But I wanted to get this breakdown to you guys before the fight on tomorrow. So for those of you who live under a rock, Daniel Dubois will be facing Fabio Wardley in a heavyweight clash tomorrow. I just found out that this is in Manchester. I thought the entire time this fight was going to be in London, but it's actually going to be in Manchester at the Co-op Arena. It's a decent undercard. We got David Morrell was supposed to be against Callum Smith. That would have been a banger of a fight, but good to see David Morrell back. I mean, shout out to him. He's looking pretty good these last few months in light of the destruction of Zordo Ramirez and Anthony Yard. David Morrell's stock has risen simply when you juxtapose his performance to those of Yard and Ramirez. They got Anthony Yard. David Morrell's stock has risen simply when you juxtapose his performance to those of Yard and Ramirez. They got Bakadir Jalalov, the amateur bully, the amateur bully who loves to beat up on people less experienced than him. Jury's still out on him. For me, I'm not sold. I mean, I haven't seen him fight anybody real. I have heard of this guy though. He's fighting Agron Smakichi. He's the guy fighting Agron Smakichi. He's the guy that gave Caballel a really tough fight. Go back and watch that fight. It was a decent scrap. While a really tough fight. Go back and watch that fight. It was a decent scrap while it lasted. Actually dropped Caballel in that fight. I think it was the fight he had before he fought Makhmudov. Smakichi is game. He's tough, but he's limited and has poor stamina. So I expect Jalalov to dispatch of him pretty easily. Smakichi's also the guy that cut Tyson Fury's eye easily. Smakichi's also the guy that cut Tyson Fury's eye back in the day, before the first Usyk fight when he was one of the sparring partners, because Smakichi is a southpaw. So you got a southpaw v southpaw heavyweight matchup. Liam Camry, or southpaw heavyweight matchup. Cameron, excuse me. Wow, that's my own name and I mispronounced it. Liam Cameron was also on this card. I've heard the name Bradley Ray, but I'm not sure. But decent undercard, decent fight. But let's get to the main event here. So we have Daniel Dubois, who is, how old is he? He's 28 now. And he has 22 wins, 3 losses, all by KO, even though he was never really knocked out. But we'll get to that in a second. His biggest wins to date are Jarrell Miller, Philip Hergovich, and Anthony Joshua. His biggest wins to date are Jarrell Miller, Philip Hergovich, and Anthony Joshua, who he absolutely demolished. And we have Fabio Wardley here, 20 bouts, 19 of them by KO. Has not lost, so 20 wins, 19 KOs. Wardley, who is a little bit older at 31, his most notable wins are Joseph Parker, Justice Hooney, and Fraser Clark. He also drew with Fraser Clark. And I'll throw in David Adelaide as well. He also drew with Fraser Clark. And I'll throw in David Adelaide as well. That was a solid win. That was a prospect v prospect matchup. So there's a lot of pressure. So that's a solid win. Solid, man. Getting to the analysis of this fight, I think it's going to be a good scrap, obviously. I think we're looking at 2 big punchers. Both of these guys have, 95% KO ratios. They're big punchers. We've seen them produced some highlight reel knockouts. Dubois knockout over AJ, Wardley caving in Frazier Clark's face, Wardley pulling a rabbit out of the hat in the last, I think it was the penultimate round. I don't think it was the last round. I think it was the penultimate round of his fight against Justice Hooney, in which he was losing. And in my opinion, he had lost every round. So these guys are big punchers. They're strong guys, but they both have vulnerabilities, defensively especially. But Dubois obviously has the mental vulnerabilities as well. But I think overall it's going to be a great fight. I could see this being a modern day Foreman Lyle. It's going to be a great fight. I could see this being a modern day Foreman Lyle. You know, one of the best fights, not just in heavyweight history, but in boxing history. You know, everybody says Gatti Ward, everybody says Hearns, Hagler, but for me, Foreman Lyle is in that conversation. You know, if every heavyweight scrap was like that, there'd be no UFC. And we wouldn't have to pretend like we enjoy watching Khamzat Chimaev dry hump dude, and like we enjoy watching Khamzat Chimaev dry hump dudes for 30 minutes every fight, you know. So, you know, I think this fight's going to be a good one. If I had to pick a winner, I would actually go with Daniel Dubois. I know there's the mental fragility element there, but I think I tend to agree with the analysis that Dubois only folds when he can't touch his opponent. I don't think he's afraid of a firefight because, again, you look at his fight with Jarrell Miller. Jarrell Miller, big guy, strong guy, comes forward, throws lots of punches, a known drug cheat, and Dubois stood toe-to-toe with him and traded with him and had a war and survived that war. Ditto with Filip Hrgović. Filip Hrgović threw the kitchen sink at Dubois in their fight, just landing a lot of right hands, especially in the first couple of rounds. And Dubois was able to persevere and get over that. Then you bring him to the Anthony Joshua fight. That fight against AJ was supposed to be his coronation, right? AJ's coronation. AJ was supposed to be a 3-time champ. He was going to get the belt. Then he was going to go and try and run it back with Usyk and become undisputed. And Dubois not only did not fold under pressure, you know, did not wilt under the bright lights, he had the best performance of his career and absolutely obliterated AJ, right? He broke my heart. He broke a lot of people's hearts that night and absolutely destroyed and embarrassed Anthony Joshua. So it's hard to say that Daniel Dubois is a mentally weak person. You know, people speculate that he's on the spectrum. And, you know, I saw the interview with Ariel Helwani where Ariel was clearly trying to get a rise out of him and kind of poking fun out of him, almost being that gaslighter where you make fun of him and then you say, oh, dude, I don't know. Why don't you like me, man? Why don't you like me? And you're clearly picking on the guy. You're clearly trying to insult his intelligence, which everyone does. And I don't know if he is on the spectrum. I don't think he's as dumb as people make him out to be. One, the way he boxes, in my opinion, there's a lot to like, technically. There's a lot to like. He has a good bounce. He has a good jab. He throws, you know, especially the uppercut, throws the uppercut with good technique, right hand with great technique, jab with great technique. A lot of guys who have sparred and fought him say his jab feels like a right hand. It feels like a backhand because it's so powerful. He's aggressive. I think he has a great chin, which is something people don't really give him credit for. So I don't know. I don't think he's a dumb fighter. Again, when you look at his skill, and people kind of point to his awkwardness in interviews, his lack of a vocabulary, is just this kind of odd behavior. But I think it's just due more to anxiety. Some people have severe social anxiety, and they may come across as slow. But I just don't know if you can put him on the spectrum. I would argue that maybe the fact that he was homeschooled, maybe the fact that he has an overbearing father, a helicopter dad, that can make dudes kind of timid as well. So I think people kind of need to chill off of that. It just seems like, people like Ariel Hawani were kind of getting a kick out of making fun of Daniel. And you saw him storm out of that interview where he was just kind of like, okay, you guys are clearly taking the piss. You guys are making fun of me. I'm the butt of the joke. And then Ariel engaging in typical Wailing Wall behavior, taking the piss. You guys are making fun of me. I'm the butt of the joke. And then Ariel engaging in typical Wailing Wall behavior, decides to gaslight and pretend like he doesn't know what he's doing, which is typical of the Wailing Wall community. They like to attack people and then play the victim, and somehow what they got going on is more important than everyone else. But let's not get carried away before I go on a rant there. But get into Fabio Wardley. He has solid wins, as I said, over Frazier Clark, Justice Hooney, Joseph Parker. But the reason why I'm not picking him is, one, when you look at the strength of his resume, on the surface it looks good. Frazier Clark twice, David Adelaide, Justice Hooney, and Joseph Parker, his most recent win. Starting with the Parker win, I thought he was down on the scorecards the entire fight. And the stoppage for me was atrocious. I just can't get over that stoppage. The punches didn't land. Joseph Parker was actively defending himself. He wasn't buzzed. I've seen guys hurt way more than Joseph Parker. You look at Tyson Fury. You look at AJ in the Dubois fight. AJ got 50 million chances before the referee finally called it off. So I didn't like that stoppage. I despise the Justice Hooney stoppage. I mean, Hooney pitched a shutout, right? He was throwing a perfect game. He got greedy, got clipped, and beat the count. Wasn't wobbled, or I shouldn't say wasn't wobbled, but wasn't on shaky legs. Seemed pretty steady to me. And instead of giving him an opportunity to fight on, the ref kind of waves it off. It gave almost Froch Groves vibes, where it's just like, the second the A side has any sort of success, they wave it off in his favor. I'm not a fan of that. His last fight against Frazier Clark, I think that was on the Bivol Beterbiev undercard in 2024. That was fluky. Great punch. He has great instincts. He's ferocious. He's violent. He's got heart, and we'll kind of touch on that in a second. But to me, that punch was a 1 in 10,000 punch. I mean, I think Frazier played himself by almost looking to the referee to bail him out and reset the fighters, and he didn't. And Fabio took advantage. Those are the rules. Protect yourself at all times. And Frazier didn't do that, and he paid the price for it by getting his face caved in. And I don't think he's ever been the same. I kind of want him to retire. He's slurring his words a lot. I hope he could just get a commentary job, because he hasn't been the same since that fight. But, yeah, in my opinion, Fabio, tough guy, has a lot of heart, big balls. He's brave. He's willing to fight anybody. Credit to him for getting in the ring with Daniel Dubois, because he's admitted that Daniel Dubois actually got the better of him in sparring, which is interesting because the last guy Daniel Dubois beat was also one of his victims in sparring, right? It's widely reported that Daniel Dubois slept AJ in sparring years before they actually fought. So credit to Fabio for getting in there, because it ain't easy running it back with a dude who beat the brakes off of you, especially a dude with heavy hands, who's aggressive, who's got a good chin, who you're not just going to be able to put down with a shot. And, kind of getting to Wardley's ability and his power. Yes, he has power. There's no doubt about that. Does he hit harder than Dubois? I don't know. He hits hard enough. It's not an issue of power. It's not an issue of speed. It's not an issue of heart for me. But, well, heart plays a role. I don't think it'll play a role in this fight because I don't think Fabio has the boxing ability to confuse and befuddle Daniel the way Usyk did. Now, the Joe Joyce fight, I don't know. I don't know why he couldn't figure out Joe Joyce's jab, but the man had his eye caved in by a 6'7", 270-pound heavyweight, and still gave it a go for a few rounds even after his eye was messed up, unlike a Billy Joe Saunders, who was heavily critical of Daniel Dubois, but ended up quitting on his stool when Canelo did the same thing to him. So I don't know. I don't know about the Joyce fight. The Usyk fights, to me, I think he just got mentally exhausted. I think Usyk just overstimulated his brain, overstimulated his mind, and put Dubois in a position where his brain was completely fried. He ran out of ideas. When you're in a ring with a guy who's faster, smarter, keeps touching you, they're not hard shots, but he keeps touching you and you keep hitting air, that drains you mentally. It's frustrating. It's almost like you're trying to solve a Rubik's Cube while getting punched in the face. It's not fun. So, yes, he quit, but I don't think Daniel Dubois is a soft guy. Again, I mentioned earlier, he's dealt with pressure before in fights. He's dealt with mental pressure like he dealt with when he fought AJ, and he's dealt with actual physical pressure against guys like Miller, against guys like Hrgovic, who put it on him. These are big, strong, hard-punching heavyweights. Well, they don't hit that hard, but they hit hard enough. Those punches hurt, trust me. Just because they don't have the one-hitter quitter doesn't mean those punches don't hurt, right? So he's dealt with pressure before. Wardley, in my opinion, kind of betrayed a bit of mental weakness during the press conference. I was listening to it while I was riding around today, and he kept bringing up Dubois' losses and the times Dubois has shown weakness and shown mental fragility. But in my opinion, that statement highlights some of Wardley's own insecurities. It almost is a manner of wishful thinking, where you're hoping that Dubois has a meltdown. You're hoping that Dubois isn't up for it. You're hoping that Dubois shows some sort of weakness, some sort of fragility. If you were fully confident about beating Daniel, you would be saying, I hope you're in the best state you've ever been in. I hope you've seen every Harvard-trained sports psychologist. I hope you've gone to every therapist. I hope you've spoken to your rabbi, your guru, your pastor, your imam, whoever you need to speak to get your mind right. I hope you're eating your vegetables, drinking lots of water, not drinking alcohol, not smoking. I hope you are in the best shape of your life mentally and physically, because I don't want any excuses when I knock you out. Fabio didn't say that. And to me, that's kind of indicating that maybe that sparring session is still in the back of his mind. You don't forget it. Trust me. Fighting someone, this is going to sound weird, but fighting someone is like having sex with them, or even like being in a musical context, right? Where you create art together. You're sharing your soul with someone. You learn a lot about someone fighting them. I would argue you learn more about someone fighting them than having sex with them, right? So the way Fabio was moving, it's almost like he's hoping that Daniel's damaged goods. He's hoping that maybe I caught him at the right time. Maybe the Usyk loss has changed him and I can overwhelm him. But I don't think Fabio has the IQ, the mastery of the sport, the wizardry of boxing. He doesn't have the boxing brain to keep Daniel at bay, to keep touching him. Now, Fabio is aggressive and active, but he throws a lot of wild shots, man. He wastes a lot of energy, and he's there to be hit. And I'm not so sure about Fabio's chin either, because Justice Hooney was hurting him, and everybody says Justice Hooney can't punch. But Justice Hooney was busting him up until Fabio landed that lucky punch. Frazier Clark was busting him up. Frazier Clark's not a big puncher. And I think Daniel Dubois has, there may be slightly more skilled, but he's skilled enough that when you marry it with his physicality, his power, his speed, his footwork, I think Daniel Dubois has better footwork, better feet than Fabio. I think he has faster feet, deceptively fast feet. So when you marry all those factors in, I think Daniel's going to win, and I think he's going to win by brutal knockout. So I'm going to go ahead and say Dubois is going to win by knockout somewhere in between rounds 8 and 10. So we'll see what happens. But I'm excited for this fight. I'm gonna bite the bullet. I'm going to drop the bread for that pay-per-view. I hate it, but somehow this fight is cheaper than Ramirez Benavidez. Make that make sense. This fight is way bigger. I know people in America don't care, but American fans are dumb, just like most Americans. Look at who's in the White House. Don't listen to us. Stop worrying about what Americans think about your boxing events, British fans. We don't matter. America's a country full of casuals and idiots. But yeah, I don't know how this fight is cheaper, but I'm glad, because this is the fight I want to see. Again, I think this is going to be a modern-day Foreman Lyle, man. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Who you have, Wardley or Dubois? Remember, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. I'm out. Peace.